The pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong got a boost earlier this week. On Sunday, following weeks of anti-government protests, Democratic parties won 17 out of 18 districts in local elections. Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam says she acknowledges the discontent with her administration, but she offered no concessions to protesters. Earlier today, I spoke with Emily Lau. She was a member of the Hong Kong Legislative Council for more than 2 decades. And in this decade, she served as chairman of the Democratic Party. She's now the chair of the party's Foreign Affairs Committee and joined us from Toronto. Hi, Ms. Lau. Nice to see you.
Hi. Good to see you, too.
Thank you so much for joining us. Last week, Ms. Lau, China's new ambassador to this country, spoke to reporters, and he warned the Canadian government not to follow Congress's lead and try and sanction officials in China and Hong Kong. What did you think of that warning?
Well, I think it's quite ridiculous. In fact, it's preposterous. It's very insulting to the Canadian government and to the Canadian people. I mean, who are you? Why should you deliver such a warning to the Canadians? I don't think you people should accept it. This is crazy. So what has your government said, actually, since then?
Not much.
That's terrible. That's why I've been to Halifax. I'm now in Toronto. And the Canadians I've met said, oh, it seems our government is quite spineless. And of course, they're under a lot of pressure from the business people who just want to trade, and more money, sell pork, sell lobsters, sell gas, and all that. And where is the dignity of the Canadian people? I'm not against trading. Great. But you also should get China to respect the Canadians.
If I could play devil's advocate for a second, my guess is, and I'm not at all speaking for the government, my guess is that there are more considerations beyond just the economic ones, chief among them the detainment of 2 Canadians, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. I'm sure you're familiar with the case. What do you, I mean, obviously you have a take already on the Canadian government's lack of response to what's happening in Hong Kong, but might that be a consideration for the government as well? And if so, how should they be navigating it from your perspective?
Well, of course, the Canadians whom I've met have said that they want the 2 Michaels to come back. And of course, the Canadian government should speak to the Chinese government about the 2 Michaels. And then they want to buy your pork, they want to buy your lobsters, they want to buy your natural gas. So you say, okay, well, let's make a deal, as Donald Trump would say, get them back. And don't just cave in. You see, I don't want to see whether it's government or business people who are so craven, who are just so money mad. If you're like that, the Chinese won't respect you, and they would just try to get away with murder. I think you have your legitimate concerns. You communicate to them, and you tell China, you are now the 2nd biggest economy in the world. You want to be a responsible and respected member of the international community. So please adopt our code of behavior and behave in a responsible way. And let's trade, let's do other things. And if you have legitimate demands about your citizens being locked up in China, you tell them and try to resolve it. And not by just saying nothing. You know, if you are so craven and you are so scared, people won't respect you, especially the Chinese or even other governments. They only respect people who will stand up and speak for what their people believe in.
Do you think, Ms. Lau, though, that will be the reaction of China? Do you think that they will respond favorably to that? And I ask only because, look at how they responded to the fact that we followed the extradition order and arrested Meng Wanzhou. They right away, that's when they turned around and arbitrarily detained the 2 Canadians. Do you think the Chinese would respond favorably if the Canadian government acted in the way you describe?
I think the Chinese government will respect people who have the courage and the conviction. I cannot tell you how they're going to behave. I can't even tell you whether they're going to send the People's Liberation Army into Hong Kong's streets to quell the protests. We have to be prepared for the worst. But as a nation, as a government, we have to have dignity. We have to have the courage to defend our principles and our people. We cannot just say, oh, I am very scared, I am worried, and you just do what you want to us. That's no way to behave. I don't think that's what the Canadian people want. Some business people may want that. Oh, and I'm not against them trading, but come on, speak out for your people. And of course, I come here, I hope the Canadian government and parliament will speak out for Hong Kong too. But if they're so scared, then I guess they will not speak out for us. But countries all over the world, governments, they respect government which have the courage to stand up and speak with dignity.
Can I ask for your take now on the situation in Hong Kong, particularly what happened in the elections over the weekend? 90% pan-democracy candidates won 90% of 452 district council seats. What does that tell you, and what's your assessment of where things stand there right now?
Well, of course, many pro-democracy candidates won the election, and so the people have spoken in a very calm and orderly manner via the ballot box, like your people did not too long ago in your general election. So I hope the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government in Beijing will respect the wishes of the people and will not come down on us like a ton of bricks. But as I said, you never know what the Chinese government would do. If they get so furious, they may crack down on us. So that's why I'm in Canada, telling the politicians, telling your people, and I want to remind you, there are 300,000 Canadian citizens living in Hong Kong. So it's not just helping Hong Kong, but also helping your own people. And more than 1,000 Canadian companies operating in Hong Kong. So I hope the Chinese will calm down. They will get Carrie Lam's government to listen to the people's demand, and one of which is to set up an independent commission of inquiry. And we hope that people will really dial down and let us, not to see the tear gas being fired at the people every day.
Specifically, though, when you talk about what you'd like to see from the international community, would you like to see, for example, the Canadian government levy sanctions?
Well, I think that sanction is something that, of course, should not be ruled out. If there are rivers of blood running in Hong Kong and in other places, sanction must be something that should be considered. But right now, we want the Canadian government, your Prime Minister Trudeau, to tell the Chinese to really calm down and help Hong Kong to return to normal life, to listen and respond to the wishes of the people, and to set up this commission of inquiry. And of course, help Hong Kong on its way towards democratic government. But we're not asking for independence. No, we're asking for Hong Kong's high degree of autonomy, which was promised by the Chinese government to the British government in 1997 and to the whole world. China is now reneging on its promise. If they renege on their promise to us, they will renege on their promise to the Canadians and to others. So I don't think the government of Canada should just be quiet and dare not say anything.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Ms. Lau. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Emily Lau, Chair of the Hong Kong Democratic Party's Foreign Affairs Committee from Toronto. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.